Alright, so now we need to work on the other half, which includes displaying the links that the user has created. So this is something that the user will be getting from the Firestore database. And as we have not added the Firebase in the application just yet, what we will be doing is we can create some dummy data out of which we can create this component. So that once we add the Firestore, we can just plug them together. So getting back to the application, over here we first need to create a list of the links inside the account component. So as this is something which requires state, we will be importing the use state hook from React. So over here we can name the state as links and we can name the function as set links. So this is going to be an array, and as we are creating dummy data, some dummy data which we can map over to create this component, let's just create it right over here, not inside the component. So let's name it as dummy data as such. So let's just plan the structure of individual links that we have over here. So we need to have a date, a timestamp. We can name it as created at. Then we need to have a name that the user will decide while shortening the link, the long URL. And then we need to have the long URL and also the shortened one. Plus we need to have the number of times the link was clicked, this field. So let's do that. Over here we apart from all the other things, it should also be having a unique ID. So this is going to be something like this, random, and this will actually be the document ID from the Firestore. So we don't have to do it manually. The other thing is the created at field, and for now we can just use new date. Then we need to have a name which can be anything. Then the long URL, just add something. We are just creating a dummy object just so that we can work on the component using it. Then we also need to have a not short URL, it has to be short code, some like a code, which will be this part, this thing. We don't want to include the website itself, just the code, this thing. So let's just add a shortened one, and practically this would work in a way that the user can navigate to our not like this, to our application, which in this case is shortly, and they can enter the short code in such a way. So that's what we are aiming for. The other field, let's see, we need to have the number of times the link was clicked. So we can name it as total clicks as such. And for this we can just add something, it has to be a number, obviously 313. So that is perfect. Now we can use this array as the default value for the state, and now we just need to map over it to create this component. So for this, let's create a new component within the same directory, and we can name it as, well, what should we name it? I think we can name it as link card or link item. Let's name it as link card as such, which would be this thing, this individual link. So over here, let's create a functional component, and we need to import a few things from the library. Let me see. We need typography, we need a button, we need this icon. I think that's it. So let's import typography, button, and even the box. And for the icon, we will be importing it from the material icons package that we have already installed right in at the beginning. This one. So I don't remember the name of the icon, but it was something chart, let's see, bar chart, and we will be renaming it as chart icon to make it a little descriptive. Now that being said, we need to wrap the entire thing inside of a box component within which we will be adding in two boxes, one for the content at the left side and the other one which is on the right side. So let's do that. Over here, let's add in a box with two box components, and for the one on the left side we need to add in typography for the created art. Let's do that. Typography created art, and for the time being, well, not for the time being, we will be actually mapping over this array. So we will be passing in all these fields to the link card component. So we can actually destructure them right over here. And in order to do it in an easy way, let me just select them all together. 1 second. Perfect. I will be copying them, adding them over here first at the top, just so that I can add in the comma. Okay, now we can pass it to the object. Perfect. So right next to the created art, using the, well, not the template string, using the expression, we need to display the created art. And as this is something like it's a timestamp, eventually we will be formatting it using, we will have to use a third-party package, or maybe we can use the locale string. Well, I'm not sure about this for now, but for the time being we can just display the text itself. But as this is something which will, like, it's a timestamp, we may have to display it as a string. So for that I will be wrapping it inside of template string in such a way. Or should I don't know. Let me just see if this thing works. If not, maybe then we will be wrapping it. Anyway, next to this typography we need to add in another one for the name, and this will be the name as such. For the variant we can change it to be H5. Then we need to add in another typography for the long URL which we will be getting from the props. Let's destructure them. Then this thing which includes the shortened URL, the shortened URL and the button, and they need to be displayed next to each other. So for this we can wrap them together inside of a box. The first one is going to be typography, and it has to be with the URL, but the URL is something dynamic. We do not want to hard code that. So in order to get the URL, we can actually use the window dot location dot host, I guess, or the host name. Host name is this, host is this. Let me check the same thing over here. Host. Okay, so we have to use they both are the same, so let's use the host. Anyway, so over here we need to add in window.location.host, and next to it, but with a slash, as it is something which goes inside this URL, or to say this host, we will be showing the short code as such. And next to this typography we need to display the button with a text of copy, and we just know it right now that it has the outline design. So for that we can just do it right now. We can change the variant to be of outlined, and we also want to resize the button by setting the size prop with a value of small. Perfect. Now I think that's it for the content on the left side, and now let's work on the right one. So over here we need to display the total number of clicks and the icon on the same axis and the total clicks right below it. Let's do that. Over here we can wrap the entire thing, not the entire thing, or should we do that? Well, let's try that. Okay, so inside of the second box, we are going to add in another one, which will be having the total clicks, and next to it we need to display the icon. So let's just place it, well, my bad, I'm sorry. We have to add in another box for this thing, for this entire thing, within which we will be adding in a box, my bad, I'm sorry. Within that we are going to add in the typography. So let's add in another box. This is the right one, this is the one which contains the entire thing, and then we are adding another one which just includes these two. Okay, so now over here we can place in the typography for the total clicks, and next to it we can place in the chart icon. Now next to this box component we will be adding the text of total clicks wrapped inside of typography, and well, we will give the variants later. Let's just see. So I think that's it, and as we want these two to sit next to each other, we can do the same thing of changing the display of box to be of flex. So this is the right one, this is the one which contains the entire thing, and then we have the one wrapping the upper content, to which we have set the display to be of flex, just so that the text and the icon are on the same axis. And next to it we are adding the typography. Perfect. So now getting back to the account component, right over here this is the box, this is the button. Yep, right within the grid item, right over here, we will be adding, we are going to map over the links, but we should be wrapping the entire thing inside of a wrapper. The entire wrapper for this thing, like which wraps all the links, just so that we can add some margin to the top. Or should we, like, I think we can just display the links right away. So now we have the links, this thing, we will be mapping over this array and creating link card component that we have just created. To this link card we need to specify the key, because we are adding components dynamically, so they need to have a key for which we can use the ID. So it's going to be link.id, and all the other content, which includes like all the other fields, instead of manually destructuring them, like manually passing in the ID, setting it to be link.id, instead of doing this, what we can do is we can just spread out the entire object as such. In such a way we are just forwarding all the props, like all these fields of the object, directly to the link card component. So over here I think that's it. Let's see if we are able to get the component. One second. Okay, it's still compiling. Let's wait. Normally it takes like a little more time, because when you import anything from the material icons package, so typography is not defined, but we are importing it. So what's wrong? I think I made a typo. Okay, yep, over here. Let's see. What's up? Yep, I was right. I was suspecting the same thing, that we are trying to display a timestamp over here, which will definitely throw a warning. So we can wrap it using the query string, we can wrap it inside of a template, literal, in such a way for the time being. Okay, so we do have some content. We need to fix a few things, but it's actually a good thing that we are able to display it as such. So starting from the main wrapper, this thing, I think I forgot to add the space between. So on the main box component, we need to set the display to be of flex, and the justify, for the justify content, well, actually For this, it has to be justify content because it's a box component. So we can set it to be space between as such. If we do that, perfect. The other thing is we want to add the align items for the vertical axis alignment, or to say the cross axis, to be of center so that they're aligned in the center. Perfect. The other thing is inside the account component on the box one, which is wrapping this thing, the links and the button, this typography and the button, we can add some margin to the bottom of about 5. Perfect. And I think that's it. Why isn't the URL being displayed? Okay, it is. It's over here. We need to align them together in the same manner. Let's do that. So inside the link card over here on the box wrapping the typography with the shortened URL and the button, we need to do the same thing, display of links, and yep, that's it. Let's see. Perfect. So that's a great thing. Okay, we need to fix a few things, so let's do that in a minute.